Hello and welcome to my video on how to do basic algebra. In this grade 4 math video, I'm going to show you how to do plus, minus, multiplication, and division. So we're going to start with the easy one, addition. X plus 5 equals 16. Now we can do a lot of these questions by just guessing. And although that might work at the moment, when we get to harder questions, it's not worth it. So we should already begin to learn how to do it step by step. So what we imagine is a teeter-totter. On a teeter-totter, if you add something to one side, it's going to be unbalanced and that side will fall. But if you add it equally to both sides are equal, right? So if they're equal, it won't tip over. So this equal sign here is like the edge of our the middle of our teeter-totter. Anything we add to one side, we have to add to the other. So we want to get the x by itself. To get the x by itself, we need to find the opposite of the plus 5. Opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. So if we add it to the one side, we must add it then to the other side. So we have x plus 5 minus 5 equals 16 minus 5. The plus 5 and minus 5 together equals 0. So if you add 5, you have 5 things, and you take away 5 things, it equals 0. So x plus 0 equals 16 minus 5. And we know that writing plus 0 makes no sense. There's no point in even writing it. So we're going to transfer that down just to an x. X equals. And on the other side, we have 16 minus 5. Well, now we can easily do this. 16 minus 5 is 11, and we have our answer. X equals 11. Okay, so going over to our first subtraction example, we have x minus 3 equals 7. This works the same way with the teeter-totter, and in fact, all of these questions work like that. And so we are going to try to make our 3 disappear, so our x is by itself. We can do that by doing plus 3. But if we do plus 3 to one side, we have to do it to the other. And we're going to skip the step now where plus 3 minus 3 equals 0, and we're just going to write the x, because we know that that's the case from the last question. So x equals 7 plus 3. And now 7 plus 3 equals 10. And there is our answer. And you can always substitute this number back in here to check if it's correct. Let's try that right now. 10 minus 3 equals, what does it equal? It equals 7. That means our answer was correct. Okay, going over to our next subtraction example. This one is the more tricky version. And this is where the x is being subtracted. So you have to watch out for that because this minus is attached to this x. You don't want to accidentally move the 14 over, not quite yet. Okay, let's work on this. So this one is one extra step from the last one. 14 minus x equals 7. That's what we have so far. We need to get the x by itself, but we can't get it by itself with that minus sign. So we need to get rid of the minus sign first. So what we're going to do is we're going to add x to both sides. We know if we add 700 to one side and we add 700 to the other side, it's going to be the same. And we also know that here, if we add and subtract the same number, it doesn't matter what it is, 7 million minus 7 million, it always equals 0. So 14, just like before, equals 0. 14 minus 0. Okay. Then we have 7 plus x, and here it doesn't matter which way we have it, so I'm just going to write it like this so that it's more simple. And now we want to get the x by itself. So to do that, we have to go x plus 7, which is what we have already, minus 7. 7 minus 7 equals 0, so that's going to go away. And we're going to do 14 minus 0. What is it? It's 0. Is 14, sorry. 14 minus 0. And then we're also minusing 7. Now, on the right side, we just have x left over because this all goes to 0. And on the left side, we have 14 minus 0 minus 7. Minus 0 does nothing, so now we just have 14 minus 7. 14 minus 7 is 7, and we know that x equals 7. We can always substitute it back in, and you can try that right now if you'd like. We're going to move over to our multiplication now. In multiplication, in algebra, we rarely use the x sign as a multiplication because we often have x as a variable. So we'll sometimes use this dot, or we will sometimes just write 3x equals 30. Those are the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to, from now on, if there's a variable, just write 3x. 3x equals 30. We need to get x by itself. So the first thing that we can do is we need to get rid of this 3. The 3 is being multiplied in, so we need to find the opposite of multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide by 3, and if we do it to one side, we have to do it to the other. In this teeter-totter analogy, where we've got something on this side, something on this side, something on this side, if we take away 2 of these and just have a third left, it's going to be unbalanced unless we do it to the other side. So it's the same thing in multiplication and division as in subtraction and addition. So if we divide by 3 on both sides, we'll have 3 over 3 times x equals 30 divided by 3, which is, well, let's find that out. 30 divided by 3 is 10. And 3 over 3 is the same thing, remembering our fractions, as 1 over 1 times x. And 1 over 1 is the same thing as writing 1 times x. And we know that 1 times anything is still the same thing as before. So 1 times x equals x, and x equals 10. So all of these here are all equal to each other. This whole group. Alright, we're not going to quite spend that much time on this next one. It's basically the same thing, just division. So we've got x divided by 6 equals 3. First thing we need to do is to get x by itself. And it's being divided by 6, so we need to multiply by 6 to get rid of the division. So multiplied, let's use the dot, multiplied by 6. And if we do it to one side, we have to do it to the other side. Times 6 divided by 6 equals 1. 1 is gone because 1 times x is still x. And then we have 3 times 6, which is 18. So x equals 18. And here's our last, possibly most complicated question for grade 4. We have 36 divided by x equals 9. First thing you need to see is that we need to get the x by itself. But just like our subtraction one, where the minus was attached to the x, our division is now attached to the x. So we have to be careful. We need to move the x over to the other side before we can do anything else. 36 divided by x times x equals 9. And if we just multiply it by x, we have to multiply it by x on this side as well. Now that we have done that, we can see that these x's here will cancel out to give us a 1. 1 times 36 is still 36. And now we've got 9x, or 9 times x. So we want to get the 9 out of there. The 9 is being multiplied in, so we need to divide it out. Okay, so we need to divide out the 9. So we do 9 divided by 9 times x. And if we did divided by 9 on one side, we have to do it on the other side. So 36 divided by 9. And 9 over 9 equals 1 times x equals still x. And 36 divided by 9 is equal to 4. So x equals 4. Those are examples of all the basic algebra that you basically learn up until grade 7-ish. Okay, good luck, and I hope this helps.